With cinematic direction and Hollywood movements, Crazy Korea shows its ICBM HWASANG-17. Kim personally supervised the launch of the monster missile from Pyongyang Airport. Japan declares a state of emergency after the fall of one of the Majnun missiles on its coasts. America is the target, but terror reigns in South Korea and Japan. Will they be a testing ground for Kim Jong-un, two of the largest countries in the world who fear a lunatic who possesses the world's most destructive weapons? Loyal to Putin, a woman who rids Russia of the sanctions crisis, the US president threatens Moscow as usual, so does he stick to his threat or back down from it? Zelensky asks for new support and guarantees, and Biden arrives in Poland as the first destination in a schedule full of meetings with Western leaders. Is there anything new? As for the United Nations, it warns of the repercussions of the war on the Arab region, with terrifying weapons, a terrifying and growing nuclear arsenal of North Korea. With ICBMs reaching the United States of America, Pyongyang is pouring all its efforts into producing long-range missiles, and the goal is always to reach the mainland of America. The most prominent of these missiles is the HWASONG-14 missile, the first ICBM with a range of 10,000 kilometers, and a height of almost 3,000 kilometers. North Korea says that it is capable of striking anywhere on the Earth, while America denies these capabilities of the missile. Is it being tested to strike the United States of America so that the madman confirms his words? While the Hwasong-15 missile, flying at an altitude of 4,500 kilometers, and a range of up to 13,000 kilometers, comes what is even greater, the Hwasong-17, the Beast missile, which is Kim Jong-un's most powerful weapon ever, and is designed to carry several nuclear warheads, in order to confuse the air defense systems. There are many missiles at Majnun, North Korea. Do not try to provoke him, you Americans, the madman is not joking. It's crazy act, South Korean and Japanese armies. North Korea launched a suspected intercontinental ballistic missile, and Japan confirms its fall on the western coast of Hokkaido. It is the third test conducted by Pyongyang this month, amid US and British condemnation. Despite tough international sanctions, North Korea has moved forward with modernizing its military capabilities. The launch of this missile was at least the 13th ballistic missile test conducted by North Korea this year, an unprecedented pace. Steel Woman, Putin's Iron Woman and Russia's Treasury Keeper, Elvira Nabiullina, a Russian economist, is nicknamed by the Russians as Putin's savior. Described as the most loyal woman, she assumed the presidency of the Russian Central Bank in 2013, and in 2017, the Duma re-nominated her for a second term. But this time Putin himself nominates her for a third term, unusually, and reports say that Nabiullina partially contributed to getting out of the sanctions crisis after the 2014 annexation of Crimea, as listed by Forbes magazine. Several in the list of the most powerful women in the world. Developments and events. Separatists announce the killing of 58 Ukrainian soldiers in Donetsk. America imposes new sanctions on 400 individuals and Russian entity Sheikh Mansour Brigade, Chechen Muslim warriors, who fought against Russia several times, and they are fighting with the Ukrainian army against Russia. Moscow announces the surrender of 67 Ukrainian soldiers to Russian forces in the capital, Kyiv. Macron, NATO decided to support Ukraine with defensive weapons without entering the war, with delay his plot. Against the necessity of sitting at the negotiating table and reaching a peaceful solution, former Russian President Medvedev, Russia was forced to conduct the military operation in Ukraine because the goals set by the Russian state were not achieved by the diplomatic method. Medvedev pointed out that Ukraine should adopt a system of neutrality and not pursue an anti-Russian policy. He noted that the Russian military operation in Ukraine is taking place according to the plan set by Russian President Vladimir Putin. Biden. The United States of America will respond if Russia uses chemical weapons, and Britain imposes a package of sanctions on Russian and Belarusian entities by the Ukrainian forces, and imposed a siege on the area. Scenes of the destruction of the Ukrainian S-300 anti-aircraft system. NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg. Russia is looking for excuses to use chemical weapons in Ukraine by accusing the United States and its allies of preparing for such an attack, stressing that the alliance will provide Ukraine with protection equipment from chemical, biological and nuclear threats. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev describes Western sanctions imposed on his country as stupid. Ukrainian president calls for NATO to take real guarantees of peace in Ukraine. U.S. President Joe Biden has arrived in the southeastern Polish city of Rzeszów, which is about 100 kilometers from the border with Ukraine. Despite the financial sanctions on Russia, Biden said, "I didn't really say that sanctions would deter Putin. Sanctions do not," saying the sanctions were aimed at countering the Russian invasion and increasing the suffering of the Putin regime. In the Security Council, Russia and China voted in favor of a draft resolution on Ukraine, but they did not succeed in passing this resolution because it did not reach enough votes, while 13 members abstained from voting. Zelensky to NATO. "You imposed sanctions, and we are grateful to you. These are powerful steps. But it was a little late. There was an opportunity," adding that if it were preventive sanctions, Russia might not have launched that war. He added that the closure of the Nord Stream -2 inches gas pipeline, where he said that if it had been banned before, Russia would not have created a gas crisis. Zelensky agreed to Ukraine's application to join the European Union, saying, "Now I ask you, do not delay." Scenes of the moment the Russian Bastion and Kaliber missiles targeted Ukrainian facilities. The Secretary General of the United Nations. He warns of the impact of the war in Ukraine on Arab countries. These countries import at least half of their wheat from Ukraine or Russia. Gutierrez added, "The war drains resources and distracts attention from other hotbeds of tension, such as Yemen." Kim Jong takes advantage of America's preoccupation with the Ukraine crisis and launches his missiles to test it. Will the United States of America be his first goal in the future? What next, you madman?